What is going on, guys? Today we are going to be looking at the best team of the seasons so far. Pretty much we've got them all now. I feel like we are pretty much there. So we are going to go through the list of what I consider the better team of the seasons. There will be no flashbacks. I know technically they came during team of the season, but these are moments and team of the season cards only. We will have a separate list for flashbacks and all of that good stuff. Starting off with Watkins, we're going to blast through a lot of these, as to be honest, there is more than anticipated, and Watkins, to be fair to him, in terms of a team of the season, isn't an awful card, but he's most definitely not going to make it onto this list in any high category, as there's a lot of big ones. Then obviously we've got our man Vinny, another cracking team of the season here. We've got a lot of good left wings, most definitely at the top caliber, and Vinny is going to put himself as the first one so far. And to be honest, I might need a bigger S category, as honestly, there is a lot of team of the seasons. Then we have, with the AS, we have a big boy Verratti. Very much a specific style sort of centre mid, very much on the passing and dribbling side of it. I do think he is one of the topper ends. We are going to start with them at the bottom here, as well, we'll start them like here, but just in case we do run over on obviously the S. So we'll go about there. In fact, if we go there, yeah, we're looking around about here. Perfect. So then we have Varane, another one that's going to get straight into the S, because if you've ever used him, you know full well how good this card is. I loved his gold for pretty much half of the year. Then he got his winter wild card that was incredible, and now we've got the moments that is just unbelievable alongside a lot of these great players. I'd like to tell you about skycoach.gg. They offer many features within the FIFA franchise, from FIFA coins to FIFA weekend league boosts, from trusted sellers, pro players, and are the best prices on the market currently. They have fast delivery, high quality services, lots of games, and also a cashback program. The more coins you buy, the more eligible you are for cashback options. So if you want to buy FIFA coins at the best price, click the link in the description of this video. It will be active promo code for 10% discount from my subscribers. All you have to use is the code JT11 at the checkout to receive this bonus. On to the video. We then move into Valverde, who was, to be honest, for me, one of the most anticipated centre mids coming into team of the season, as we saw him grow from obviously the first player of the month all the way to this absolutely extraordinary mid. 94 pace on the base is incredible for him. Everything about this card is absolutely top quality, and it's why he's going to put himself in with the S's. We then have Enner Valencia. Again, I've thrown a few of the kind of minor leagues in here because some of them are not actually awful cards. He's not necessarily going to be the best striker you're going to get. I don't think there's many, if any, minor leagues that are going to be in challenging contentions for the top spots, and I do think he warrants himself to probably be in the A. I'd say obviously I think a 5-star, 3-star I want to say Valencia is, with obviously that incredible amount of pace. We then have Trippier, and again with right backs, we are being very brutal with these. So always, again, this is all my own list, my own opinions. Let me know if you change any of them. Personally, for me, Trippier's a nice right back, but he's not going to be in my top category. I've played with him a little bit, and honestly, I preferred a different right back in the Prem. Then we have Traoré, another cracking one, obviously from Ligue 1. I feel like he was wasted at right back. Personally, I loved his outer position card as a CDM. Him and Fofana together were absolute monsters. The physicality side of them are brilliant if you want to play him there. Unfortunately, you're not going to get him in that position, and he's going to be right next to Trippier down here. We then have Tonali, again, another cracking one that we saw from last year, was absolutely sensational, and I think he's definitely done himself proud again, and he's gonna sit himself nice in that A+. Then we have Tomori. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory, Tomori. I loved him again, like with Varane. Got his gold card. Was a standard one. I felt like he kind of fell out of love with obviously the gold card quite quickly. The winter wild card put it back up, and this card is just absolutely sensational. Then we have Thuram. Again, another great centre mid from Community. Looks a relatively nice, balanced card, and I must admit, we ran him for a little bit. I do think now he's starting to come out of kind of the most meta centre mids. I feel like when he was in his previous version, he definitely was at a new point where some centre mids just couldn't quite cope with that level. Now, I feel like he's pretty standard, if anything. We have the other Thuram as well. Again, another, I think he was, I don't know if he was the objective actually. I want to say he might have been. But, he was, of course he was, because he was in the Bundesliga review. So obviously, if he did all their matches, you would have got him. For me, he's pretty standard again. I wouldn't say necessarily in the B tier, but I definitely wouldn't put him in that massive, massive top A+. But ter Stegen is definitely one of them. 94 keeper. I am going to do a full updated list probably next week or like the week after, because we have had a lot of keepers to go through now, and we've played with pretty much most, but maybe a few of the minors that we haven't, and we might try and get them done by obviously that tier list. Tavernier, another great one in right back, who again is unfortunately missing a Ken. That was kind of the big deal with him. Having Ken as the kind of chemistry style player, it worked really well in Tavernier's favour. Now we don't have it. I just feel like he's a standard right back, and for me, he is going to be pushed into this A tier rather than necessarily in the A+. We then have Taremi, the Iranian striker, 93 rated, 4-star, 4-star. Reminds me very much of your Harry Kane-esque sort of striker. Tall, big build, good physicality, and maybe a little bit stocky at times, but his finishing would kind of see through. I don't think he's quite on that sort of level, so to be honest, I feel like he's going to go in the bottom category personally. I do feel like he isn't necessarily on that level of kind of the A's. I must admit there is probably a fair few strikers I would like over him. We then have Talisca, a beautiful Brazilian. It's a shame we don't have Romarinho next to him, because them two are sensational in that Saudi league. Every year we get the team of the season, and every year they've got a beautiful boost that just is so dribbling orientated. He now links to obviously El Waran, El Jabba, and obviously Cristiano himself, and definitely many to come next year as well. So he's going to sit himself into the AS. Love Talisca, was a cracking card. Tadic, on the other hand, to be honest, was a bit let down with the Eredivisie. I don't know if it was the first one and kind of like you got your hopes really high for them. Unfortunately, he just didn't quell my ambition at the minute. So unfortunately, he is going to go in that lower category. Szczesny as well. Again, with keepers, we're going to keep it nice and brief with them. There's only a few that I've actually really liked from Team of the Season. And I must admit, Szczesny and ter Stegen, two of the better ones. Then we move on to Son. And to be honest, I wasn't disappointed in Son, because Son is still absolutely incredible regardless. But I do think he could have been boosted better. I don't know what it is about him, but when you've got your Rashfords, even Kane, to be honest, I see Kane, well, I know obviously the price is a lot different, but Kane is in teams a hell of a lot more than Son, and the point is, if you was going to get Son, he is relatively cheap, you could go get him, whereas people definitely choose better players over him, so I'm going to be putting him in that A+. I feel like, as a striker especially, he's normally absolute S through and through, and unfortunately, he just hasn't quite done it this year. And I do think that is down to, personally, Prem not being boosted enough. Smalling, nice and easy one. Going straight into that A+. Lovely centre-back. Feel like he's got everything in the right positions. Not necessarily my favourite, because Tomori definitely takes that. But I do think he is still a very solid centre-back for especially the price that you can get him at. Sissoko, again, for me, I feel like pretty standard, if anything. He isn't necessarily showing me loads this year. Again, I'm probably so used to the shapeshifter versions and all of them that unfortunately just come to an end at some point. But then we have Javier Simons, the 93 Dutch cam, who is beautiful. Such a good cam. I must admit, coming from the start of Team of the Season, he had that wow factor. Now probably not as much as what we kind of expect. I feel like he probably has dropped down in his sort of ranking. So we are going to be putting him in the A+ now, purely for the fact the talent that is involved in this S has got to be secured with the biggest bag. Same with Bernardo Silva. Probably 1 week in, I'd have definitely gone into the S category for him. He is very dribbling orientated, can play across the line, cam, lam, ram, maybe even a cheeky centre mid, but it's going to be with a heavy DM next to him. And I do think he is now probably dropping more into that A+ rather than S. And like I say, the talent involved in this S category is top dollar. Schlotterbeck, very standard Bundesliga. To be honest, If I was being really harsh, I'd probably go with the B, but we're gonna stick him in A at the moment and just see where we go with it and see if we need alterations. Sane, actually a surprising, very good left mid. Really enjoyed him in the Bundesliga Cup. Obviously him and Gnabry together. Always love the Bayern lads, especially then you throw in a cheeky Kimmich and Goretzka. You just can't lose that midfield. Then we have Sanchez from obviously the community. Another beautiful striker, to be honest. 95 rated, has the stats, has the ability. For me, he's one that actually surprised me enough to go into obviously this S category. As a striker, a lot of League Guns are going to make it, I'm just going to say. Saliba unfortunately isn't one of them, and he's going to stick himself back into this AS. So we can get him there, and then we move on to obviously Salah, who is... don't need too much explanation. He is incredible. And I feel like, yeah, we are definitely going to be using that second row at some point. Saka, again, another one that I was bitterly disappointed to start with because the rating does not reflect the season that he's had. But I get where they're coming from with obviously the Prem being the one that everybody wants. Making them so highly rated means there is no point for the rest of team of the season because you've already got your 95, your 97 Saka, your 95 Martinelli, 97 Rashford. So it is understandable. I do think Saka for me is definitely one that is a surprising A+ just because of obviously the price of him, but he is so quick down the wing and I love it. Same with St. Max. To be honest with him, I'd probably, to be honest, I probably could have gone S with him, but we're going to stick with the A+, just purely for the fact if you look at the left wings that we've got on show, he just doesn't make it. Ruben Diaz is going to sneak his way into that S though because he is a sensational centre-back. And same with CR7. There's never any disagreements with him. He's a 96 moments. We knew he was going to come. And honestly, he brought the bag with him. And then we have Romarinho. Again, another great link to obviously CR7 and our man Talisca. He is going securely straight in that AS. Love the dribbling. Love the pace. Beautiful card nonetheless. We then have Rodrigo, one of the better right wings we can get, to be honest. I feel like there is an abundance of left wings. Rashford, Kvaratskhelia, Leao, obviously then you've got Vinny. There's so many. Rodrigo, Salah, obviously Saka is originally a right wing. There isn't necessarily a massive list. And to be honest with Rodrigo, just purely for the fact that we have got Salah already, I'm going to go with the A+ for him just to keep the balance out for him. We then have Robertson, another great left back. And again, there is going to be a lot of A+. Like I said, these team of the seasons at the moment are the best cards we've got. So there is a lot of them and a lot of them are at that top dollar. Unfortunately, Rice isn't right now. Big win for obviously West Ham yesterday, which was sensational to see for him. But unfortunately, in terms of his FIFA card, I'm not too impressed. I feel like it's one of them ones that was thrown in for community and it's a good card, but unfortunately is not going to make any sort of CDM roles. Royce though is going to make all of them. A+ for Royce, great SBC, very cheap and affordable in terms of grinding, so he is always going in that spot. Renato Sanchez, just look at the card. He is beautiful. A shadow takes the pace up to pretty much 99. Defending goes over 90. Everything else is over 90. He's just a force to be reckoned with, and definitely in that A+, in that S. Same with Rashford, another sensational card. You cannot argue with him. He is a beautiful left wing, and honestly came with obviously your likes of all of the rest of them with Vinny. It just kept getting more and more with them left wings. I don't even know. Bundesliga had Sane, obviously. I don't think they necessarily contested compared to a lot of the weeks, but most definitely is on that top caliber list. We then have Rafinha, another great SBC that you could have completed. Very much like Rodrigo, to be honest. Very quick, good dribbling. Shooting's got a big upgrade, but not necessarily over that 90. But I do think, in terms of an SBC, he's a standard one, isn't he? He's very good, very nice on the eyes. Then we have Ramsdale. Little bit disappointed with this one. I felt like he could have done so much better in rating, but again, like I said, I can kind of understand where they're going with the rating. Unfortunately, Prem was just happened to be second. If they were the last, the ratings would have been sensational. And to be honest with Ramsdale, he's going to unfortunately have to go in that A. There is no position that unfortunately Alisson and obviously Ederson can take. Leao, the quickest S that we can actually do, 97 rated alongside our man Rashford. If we can get him lined up, that would be even better. And then we move on to Rabiot. I didn't expect him to be as good as what he is. 94 rated, so a great increase from him. Everything's above 90. The fives, I think a 5-star, 4-star upgrade as well. I'm pretty sure he's not a 5. Let's have a look. He's not a 5-5, unless, is he? I know Pedri is. If the internet wants to go quicker, I'm pretty sure he is a 5-4, but it's a 4-5 in fact. So obviously the weak foot got the upgrade. Yeah, 4-5. And honestly, sensational sentiment. If you've used him, you know exactly what we're talking about. He's still 900,000 coins, which even after rewards is still a very big thing to do. Then we have Pedro Goncalves, beautiful left wing, one of the better ones in Liga NOS. And I do think he's actually one that probably puts himself up there with the best of them. In terms of a cheap left wing, if you wanted, he's going to be available for you. Then we have Pedri. I wasn't actually that impressed with him, to be honest. To say he's a 5-5, he's got some good stats, and I must admit, with obviously the dribbling, passing and pace already being over 92, you can obviously go with a bit of shooting and defending chemistry styles, but I just wasn't that impressed to put him in S. I feel like definitely an A+. You can't argue with the 5-5, but in terms of what I was expecting from him, wasn't necessarily up there in my opinion. We then have Payet as obviously one of the season objectives. Sensational card. Absolutely loved Payet's winter wildcard, and he most definitely didn't disappoint in this team of the season variety. Unfortunately for him, there was a lot of packs on offer, and I must admit, same with Caicedo. There just wasn't a chance unless you had like a second account to play with the other cards and maybe you didn't necessarily take all the packs. Unfortunately, he's one of them ones that was probably packs over the card. We then have Palhinha, a great centre defensive mid from obviously Prem. I do think now he is starting to slow down. We've got obviously the likes of a Casemiro, a Kimmich. Obviously then you look in a little bit further into a Tonali. He's just unfortunately not going to do it. The only thing that really goes in his favour is the fact that he was absolutely free. We then have Osimhen. Easy, very, very easy to go into that S. Another absolutely sensational card, 97 rated, and is on everybody's mind at the moment. With Openda being the objective, honestly, I'd be putting in B if it wasn't for that. I do like the card, and I do think he's very nice, but you've got to be the consideration of the fact he was so difficult to get. I probably won't see him at the kind of Division 2 to Division 1 ratings. It's more than likely only Elite, and more than likely with a League One team that is incredible as well. We got the same with Odegaard. Pretty standard, unfortunately. Again, like Saka, like Ramsdale, I just don't think he got the upgrade he deserved, and it kind of reflects how he plays personally. Then we have Nuno Mendes. Great left wing back. Absolutely love him. To be honest, I feel like he probably could push himself into an S if we are looking, obviously, at left backs. So we are going to go with there, because I think there is, I want to say there's 3 left backs in the entire of team of the season that I'm just like that. That is a wow left back. That's the one you want. Obviously, then we have Nkunku, another absolutely cracking centre forward or left wing striker, cam, whatever you need to do with him, he is absolutely there on it. Then we have the same as Neymar, great moments, 96 rated, costs an absolute fortune, but he most definitely is still putting himself into that great S category. And very much like Musiala, like I said, there is talent on talent on talent. There is so many S cards in the whole of the team of the season. I think we've got about 121 cards at the moment, and it kind of shows, to be fair. We then have Mukhtar as the 94 centre forward from MLS. Not a bad centre forward, to be honest. I do think in terms of the price, obviously the minor league, and obviously the upgrade that is possessed, I like him. I feel like he's a great card. He had a brilliant one, I want to say last year. I'm pretty sure it was like an SBC and a non-performance based promo, and he did pretty well. Molina, another great right back. It's a hard one now because we've obviously got such an array of right backs. There is a couple that I'm like, yes, that is my right back. When it comes to obviously now, there's some that are just absolutely standard. I do think Molina definitely takes the cake being a right back though. Very cheap, very good stats, and very agile on the ball as well, which is always good from any sort of fullback. We then have Modric 97 and Modric 97. Apparently we've got 2 of them, so we've got to decide which one's better. My created one that was very close to the Reigns, I must admit. We were nearly there. But in terms of what we've got from the 97, he's a solid card. Would I say he's S category? He's a hard one for me because I do like his play, and I think if I'm going to put KDB there, it's probably for about the same sort of reason. So you know what? I've just talked myself into it. And we're going to tuck the other one away. Nice and neat. So we're going to just put him there and he will stay there and pretend that he wasn't there. Mitoma, great SBC card. Unfortunately, when he came out in the Prem, Rashford, then Vinny, then Neymar, then Kvaratskhelia, Leao, the list was just endless. But as an SBC super sub that you could have got for free, I think a solid card nonetheless. Unfortunately, it is very much pace orientated for him. There isn't necessarily a massive thing that stands out for him. He is very, very standard, unfortunately. Milinkovic-Savic, though, great SBC from yesterday, I believe, to be fair. 92 rated, very standard. I must admit, I did like the pace on him. I am going to put him A for me, though, because there is another SBC that will explain all, and I must admit, I did prefer him better. Then we have Messi, 98 rated, pretty standard as we ever go straight into the S, and I think the camera is going to have to move down because we are approaching the end of the S category, and we'll have to move it very, very soon. So we'll get some more space there. We then obviously have our man Mertens, who most definitely is a solid cam. Unfortunately, he's not necessarily in the prime anymore. Maybe could have been different if he was in Serie A. Sometimes them sort of cards, I don't know, they just give you a different vibe. It's weird when it comes to the major leagues and the minor leagues. It takes the top of the top to really make any list. The Mukhtars of the world, the Valencias, obviously the Tarimis. Whereas I think for Mertens, he is kind of the best out of a bad bunch, unfortunately. Then we have Moreno. I believe that's how you say it. 93 rated, pretty standard. I must admit, I did kind of overlook this card to start with, and I think for the price that you're paying, he's not a bad cheap beast if you wanted to go for it. Whether I'd say he's in that top category of kind of centre mids, I feel like, again, maybe in terms of La Liga centre mids, you might argue. In terms of obviously what we've got in front of us, he's not unfortunately going to be on the same level as a lot of these centre mids. Medina, though, absolutely sensational centre back, very cheap, very affordable, and most definitely will put a shift in. Then obviously onto Mbappe, 97 rated. There's enough said about him. He is just Mbappe. I think that literally says it all. When it comes to the kind of links of Mbappe, Messi, Neymar, they are the best of the best at what they do, and obviously their team of the seasons reflect it. Then we have Martinez. Beautiful 95 striker. I think he definitely deserves putting himself into that category of some of the better strikers that we have in the game. Same with Marquinhos. To be honest, let's have a look. Who have we got already? Tomori. I must admit, Marquinhos always feels less like the pace is just not enough anymore. The defensive and physical aspects, very good. You're never going to argue with that. It is just necessarily the pace that I just don't find with him. So at the minute, we're going to chuck him in the A+. I do think there is obviously more centre-backs on the way that I think are better. As we say better, Mane, 95 striker. Absolute sensational card. Comes off the bench, an absolute treat in my team. Whether I put him in the S, I think for a Bundesliga card, yes, 100%. In terms of going against the top of the top left wings, strikers, right wings, cams, I feel like A+ is more on that sort of level. We then have Lukaku, who has been the bane of my Serie A Cup. He has been in everybody's team, and most definitely is the most annoying striker that you can come up against, bar from one other name. Whether I put him in the AS, he's a hard one, because I must admit he has done some ridiculous things in Rivals and Champs against me. Whether I would say A+, I mean, who else have we got striker? We've obviously got, I don't think we've put too many strikers. Martinez, yeah, we'll go A+ for him. I feel like an A's just not quite there. I feel like he is better than, obviously, the Enna Valencias of the world. He is definitely better than them, but unfortunately isn't necessarily pushing the Oshiman sort of standard. Then we have this guy, Lobot. Yeah, I'm not even going to pronounce it. Obviously, the other player that was talking about from Milinkovic-Savic. This guy is actually incredible. The acceleration on the ball is brilliant. Such a good DM that obviously can push forward a little bit. He is definitely going one above and into the winning circle for my books. We then have Llorente, who has had a beautiful team of the season moments. Most things above 90, obviously it's just the shooting and physical. As a CDM, centre mid, you're looking at top draw here. He is right mid, unfortunately, but only adds the pace and most definitely is one of them cards that you've just got to try out to see how good he really is. Same with Lewandowski. We managed to get him red, probably, I think my best red so far, 97 rated, very much like Harry Kane, Lukaku, taller player with incredible finishing, but it is the pace that is not necessarily the most incredible upgrade because we know that they're going to feel stocky still, but if you can get him in front of goal, what a finish this guy's had. He is just an absolute machine in front of goal. We then have Lacroix as a 91 rated centre-back. Honestly, I really didn't rate him. I've seen him a handful of times. Obviously, we saw him during the Bundesliga Cup, and I just wasn't impressed. I felt like the card was nowhere near the level that we kind of knew he was or knew from him. So for me, he is unfortunately going into that A. There's no change in my mind on that one. I feel like the centre-backs we've got now are exquisite. Unfortunately, he just isn't in that category. Whereas Lacazette and, very easily to go with Kvaratskhelia there as well. Both, I think I'm saying that name right as well. If you watch the Serie A, let me know if I'm actually pronouncing that or butchering it, because I don't know. But both of them together, Lacazette has just got oodles of pace. He is a beautiful striker, whereas obviously Kvaratskhelia is just incredible as a left wing. Leao, him, obviously then we look at Osimhen, are the best of the best for Serie A. We then have Kudus, another great Eredivisie card. Whether he's necessarily seen as that now, probably not. I feel like we put him in just to kind of give him a little bit of a mention, as he wasn't bad during the Eredivisie, but unfortunately he has obviously fallen a little bit by the waistline. We then have Koyunde, incredible centre-back. He is a definite S category, and this is where we're going to kind of blur the lines a little bit because we are running out of space. As we said at Kolo Muani, beautiful, just came out after obviously Harry Kane. I don't necessarily think he's top draw. I feel like Kane was way better in terms of what he could do height wise, shooting wise, and I do think now we are starting to see the lower side of Kolo. Whether we see kind of like an increase maybe once he gets back into like a Bundesliga Cup sort of objective, but unfortunately he is going in the A at the moment. Same with Cabell, nice keeper, very standard, cheap, reliable, can get you there from A to B really easily, but he isn't necessarily my favourite keeper out of team of the season. I think that is reserved for your ter Stegens and obviously your Szczesnys, but we're still running Van der Sar, so it really doesn't matter. We then have Kimmich, incredible CDM, nice and easy AS, and honestly, I've just seen the next one, and honestly, I've already got chills, because Harry Kane is a menace. He is just unstoppable in that attacking role. Tall, physical, shooting, dribbling. He's just got the package and it works really well with this upgrade. I don't know what they've actually changed in-game because he is a different striker compared to any versions that we've used. And honestly, after this week, he has definitely earned himself a spot in that S category. We then have Joe Linton, the obvious objective from community, I want to say, and not a bad sort of centre mid. He definitely puts himself into the A rather than necessarily all the way in the B. Prem tax might have something to do with that as well, but most definitely is not a bad sort of centre mid either. We then have João Pedro, another great striker from a minor league. Championship wasn't necessarily a terrible one. I thought there was quite a few nice cards. Whether I'd say he's in that top draw, I feel like, was he, pretty sure he was a 4-star. I could be wrong with that. He is a 5-star, 4-star. Okay, we're talking business now. I want to say we actually bought him, to be fair, as well. He did kind of fluctuate in price a little bit. The pace was beautiful. The shooting was good, but not necessarily insane. I'm going to go A with him. I feel like we're going to stick to the guns with it. Make sure that we are doing this as brutal as we can. Jesus, 93 rated from community. A solid striker. Don't see him too much, just purely for the fact that everybody was obviously completing or waiting for the Prem team of the season. We then have Xavi Galan, another good left back, pretty standard if you'd like. Is very, very easily going into the A. Nothing too crazy for him. I feel like Baude, obviously Zinchenko, the names upon names that you can get as left back are going to take a runaway with it. Over Trippier, do prefer James personally. Think he is absolutely insane as a right back, but we have recently managed to go get Carfu, who is a very, very good right back, and there is another one in this list as well. We also have Theo Hernandez as the left back. One of my favourite ones, to be honest. There's only one other one that I think is very much in contention with Theo, and he is coming up very soon as well. Haaland gets an easy pass into that S. If you've not used Haaland or any high version of Haaland, go draft and have a try, because you just see what a monster this guy can really be. Same with Griezmann, to be fair to him. I feel like he is definitely in that category of the top from this team of the season. Normally we do see a very high-end Griezmann if it has to be footies. Obviously we had Summer Heat and team of the season. Goretzka himself, to be honest with him, I do feel like Goretzka has put himself at a very good level here. 90 on everything. He's kind of just tipped it over Kimmich for me, so I'm going to be personally going with the S for him there as we really start to clutter up the top of that leaderboard. Gnabry, pretty standard right mid, nothing too crazy, but he will give you a very good option going forward, and that is what I'm here for. What I'm not here for is lines that do not meet at the same time. There we go. Then we have a centre-back from Eredivisie that I know I can't already say the name. Unfortunately for him, I do feel like he's very much on that standard side. There's nothing crazy about him, unfortunately, and that will show in the gameplay. Martinelli, I would say at the start of Prem was definitely at the very minimum of an A+. Now I'd have to go with the A. Unfortunately, he's just not shown me anything more now, and he has been taken over his position because Saka can play left wing. Frimpong, great right wing back, love him in that position. He works so well with the Bundesliga lot. Really liked him as a right back. Same with Fofana, not a bad centre mid. I must admit, I was kind of expecting that little bit more from him, but I do think in terms of the base and just in-game, he works really well anyway, so they could have kind of given him any sort of upgrade, and he would have been a lot better than his normal self anyway. We then have Fekir as the 91 moments. Really wasn't a fan. I feel like he has a good left foot, but I mean, who doesn't? If they're left-footed, he's got one now. Unfortunately, he's going to be put in that A category. Militao, again, another cracking centre-back who is just absolutely balling. Hopefully this all makes sense to you, because that is a lot of team of the seasons there. Dybala is obviously going to be catching up with them as well, especially this week. If they do get nerfed as such, if obviously that is a thing, then we might see it after this week, but at the minute he is still absolutely top draw. Great dribbling, the shooting's immense, the pace is brilliant. I do think he's a solid card nonetheless. Diaby, probably coming in a little bit lower now. Obviously, his main tactic was hit the ball and run. His dribbling and pace will definitely keep it alongside. But now I feel like Super Sub is definitely in the running with how many right mids we've got that are at that absolute peak of performance. We then have Di Maria, pretty standard to be honest as well. Very much the same, good pace, dribbling, a little bit more on the shooting side, definitely has a little bit of a left foot in that locker like you'd expect. But I think he's more of a super sub than anything. I can imagine the level of teams that I've been playing, unfortunately he wouldn't probably make most of them. Di Lorenzo on the other hand, a solid right back. I have been loving him in the Serie A Cup. He is absolutely rapid, which is always nice to see. And I do think as a right back, he's earned himself up there in that top spot. Same with De Ligt, to be honest. Another great centre back that we were waiting for. Good upgrade. He's gone to a 96, which is incredible. Managed to get the 90 pace. Defending physicals at an absolute all-time high. And he is just an absolute force to be reckoned with. I think we've got about 25 cards left. De Gea, nice and easy on that A. He is just going to go there, and I'm hoping we've got enough on the list, to be honest, because we are running out of room. Then we have De Bruyne. Like I said, if Modric was going there, De Bruyne is definitely going there. He is sensational in any version, especially when he gets to his team of the season. We saw the team of the year, and obviously that was just a sneak peek at what we could possibly be getting at team of the season. Alphonso Davies, though, is the main contention for left back in team of the season. I think it's all down to preference once you get to that top of the top. It is Davies or Theo are my two #1 favourites as a team of the season left back. David as well, love Jonathan. He has had a monstrous run with obviously incredible cards, and the dynamic alone takes him into that S. But if you've played with him, you can understand how good this guy is. Cuadrado, who I think they ruin every single time. Why right mid? It might be that he plays there, but in terms of a right back, that is the position I need him in. When it's coming to a right mid, we're not getting a shooting boost. We've got a little bit of the defending still. Either make him a right mid or make him a defender. It's so frustrating because he's kind of half and half. He's kind of a good right back, but when you've got Di Lorenzo, it's not happening. When you go for right wing and you've got somebody like Chiesa, I suppose, who can play right, he's just not making that list either as well. So unfortunately, they've done it to him, but he's definitely only going in that A at the moment. Coleman, going to go with a step up. Nice A+ at the very, very minimum. Very much like Gnabry. Very much on that standard level. There's nothing too crazy. The pace is good. The shooting's a standard. He's got a good amount of dribbling. But I mean, he's not necessarily your Rashford, Givinis, or obviously Kvaratskhelia. I'm going to keep saying that name so he doesn't run out of my head. Klaus, standard right wing back. Love him. Don't think he's necessarily one that would be overrun completely because the pace is extraordinary, but he's not necessarily my favourite right back you can get. Same with Casemiro. I was kind of hoping they really kind of bumped this card up, and they've definitely done a good job. 94 rated in the Prem from what we've seen is not a bad upgrade, but unfortunately he isn't going to quite make that AS for me. He's going to be sitting and chilling in the A+. Then we have Casado. Again, like I said, unfortunately for him, it was Prem. Obviously, Team of the Season was out, and it was either like a 25 or 30 pack of 84s or him. Unfortunately, I had to choose players. Even though we have chosen him on the second account and he is an absolute dream, you just couldn't miss up the chance of possibly packing any Prem Team of the Season. So it's fair game for him. Cabela, another one that is very standard. To be honest, I was going to go B, but I think, you know what? He is that sort of player that I think is a good kind of rotation kind of cam if you are looking for maybe a super sub with a little bit of pace. You don't necessarily have the coins to buy 15 S players to go on your bench. He definitely will give you a job. Same with Bruno. I must admit, I was in more favour of Joel Linton, to be honest. I think Bruno was a nice card, but he definitely didn't have the upgrade that we wanted, and I think it definitely shows in a lot of the Prem lads that unfortunately they just ain't hitting that S category as well as a lot of these Team of the Seasons, which obviously is a fact, like you'd know it would be, because they need to sell more packs. If you've just got Prem, then unfortunately there's no reason to buy packs, so they've had to do something. Brownhill, pretty standard. Obviously minor leagues, they predominantly go in the B. I've tried to avoid as many Bs as possible. Was hoping to try and get rid of it, but as we can't, unfortunately we move on. Bremer, 93 rated centre-back, standard, love it, great pace. In terms of Serie A centre-backs, you've got Smalling. Obviously, Kim Min-jae's been redone as well. You have Danilo from the community. Tomori, Smalling. It's a great partnership if you can get any of them together, because they are quick, reliable, and very, very strong on the ball. Moving to Brandt now. Very, very standard card. And honestly, I don't know where I'm going to put him. I feel like we're going to just mix these two together now. We can see faces, so that is what it's going to be. And obviously, joining him is going to be Bergwijn. Nothing crazy about that card, unfortunately, as well. We're going to put him in there. They kind of suit nicely there. Benzema, S, as you like. If you've used any version of Benz, let me know what you think about him, because still baffles me how good this card is. The Team of the Year was just the same. I was expecting Team of the Year to just show exactly what we got again, and they did not disappoint. Same with Benazir, to be honest. Again, another wonderful, wonderful centre defensive mid from community as well, so it shows how good that card is. There is levels to his game that really, really work well. Obviously, we did get a fantasy foot from him as well, so we've got two cards that are relatively close in rating, and I feel like both are just as good as the other. Ben Yedder, on the other hand, is the best of the best. Again, another Ligue 1 striker who, to be honest, I did forget about, but we move with him. Bellingham is obviously going to choose himself in there as well. And also, this list is now getting out of hand. Barella. To be honest, Barella, I must admit, I am thinking more into the S. I do like the card. He's kind of one of them ones. I loved his road to the final, especially after the big upgrades. He's still got one to potentially go. You know what, we will. I feel like Barella, especially this week, has definitely proved himself to be in that top category so far. Whether he stays will be an interesting one, but for right now, he definitely does. And Arejo is definitely going to join him as one of the first SBCs that we got, and was an absolute monster. If you managed to get him, you had a centre-back for pretty much the whole of the Team in the season. Almeida, beautiful card. Absolutely love him in that cam from the MLS. One of the better ones that you could have got. And I think for the price, you're looking at a solid cam. Same with Alex Balde. Another great sort of left back that you can get. I like I say, Theo and Alfonso are the two premiums for me. You obviously throw in a little bit of then Zinchenko, Balde. You then look a bit further down in obviously Robertson. And unfortunately, they don't quite come close to the top two. But we still rock him in that A+. Akpom, again, I wasn't necessarily too incredible, and I wasn't too pleased with him. He was a good card, but I wouldn't say he was necessarily in the top of the top team in the seasons. He's very much on the bog standard, if anything. Ake himself, great centre-back that came out for Community. Honestly, he was an absolute magician. If there wasn't too many centre-backs out now, I'd probably be saying S. But when we've got the likes of Diaz, Varane, De Ligt, the top of the tops are there. And unfortunately, he's just that little bit under. And then finally, we have Zinchenko, who is going to firm himself right in that position as an A+. Like him as a left-back, but there isn't necessarily anything that is too crazy. So this is the full list. We've managed to get there. We've got all of the S's on top with the first two. We've got the A+ on the bottom two. And then finally the A's with a few head appearances. And finally a few of the B's. Let me know down below if you agree, disagree, anybody else that should have been there. Let me know down below. And I'll catch you all for the award winners on Friday. Peace.